So it's a level 9 speech. The purpose of it is to persuade. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech, and the title of the speech is "Can One Size Fit All?" Please welcome Michelle Dunleavy.
With any grand idea that comes from the top down, it's driven from the top down by social or moral or human rights imperatives, and underpinned by, sorry, I can't stop looking at that, and underpinned by good intentions.
Do you know this one we'll just get you one?
No, it's okay, because the slide isn't coming for a while anyway, so
You sure?
think about it and we'll see how it works.
I won't stop.
Okay. Can we really expect a teacher to provide for the needs, the social, emotional and academic needs of all children in their classroom, regardless of gender, ability, disability, or their level of motivation? I'm going to argue tonight that that children cannot have their social and academic needs met within a fully inclusive classroom. Madam President, fellow Toastmasters, we all hear about inclusion in mainstream primary schools today. And I'm going to argue that it isn't possible to include all children in a mainstream classroom within the present system. And I think this is particularly true for children who have autistic spectrum disorder. I was going to have on slide 1 there was that personal experiences of children. I've read of personal experiences of children with ASD. One young man said, "I am anxious and upset for every moment. Every moment there are tears in my eyes." Another young man said, "I cannot deal with this environment," meaning the mainstream class. Another young lady said, "In English class, I wished that the other children would just keep quiet until I got on with my work." And one father said of his son who had Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of autism, he said he was too bright to have support in class, and yet this same young man couldn't have a conversation with his peers. So it's for this reason I'm saying we cannot have all children in the mainstream classes. Legislation and policies down through the years have said that all children are entitled to an education. And with that, I or anyone in this room would not disagree. They are all entitled, but that education should be an education that will meet their needs. When I go into hospital, I want to be put on a ward that is according to my illness and see a specialist who has an expertise in that area of medicine. We have Special Olympics, we have Paralympics, and nobody would dream of saying to an athlete that you must compete in the mainstream Olympics. I can play the tin whistle and I can play the keyboard or piano, but only to a level where I will stand in front of a junior or senior infant class. Anything above that, they might realise how bad I am. Now, can you imagine how I would feel if somebody came to me and said, "You have to play with the RTE Symphony Orchestra"? Well, I can tell you that my anxiety would be beyond belief. It wouldn't be measurable, it'd be off the Richter scale. I would feel stupid and I would feel inadequate, and you would end up scraping my self-esteem off the floor. However, this is what we are doing to children with special needs every day of the week in the name of inclusion. I want you to think about what inclusion means. Inclusion means providing an education for all children, but an education according to their needs. We must have an education that follows the ethos of a child-centered education. That means taking each child as an individual and finding a school placement where that child's individual needs can be met. And unless we have a child-centred education, we really cannot have inclusion, or at least not inclusion that works. I had a couple of slides, and unfortunately the technology has let me down. But I wrote it here. And this was the picture that was going to be on the slide, so you have to use your imaginations now. The guy sitting behind a desk, and in front of him there was a tree, dog, cat, goldfish, elephant, and a few more animals. Okay? And he says, in the interest of fairness, you all have to take the same test. Now, climb that tree. And I'll just tell you what Einstein said. And I'm paraphrasing now because I couldn't really remember it fully. But anyway, everyone can be a genius, he said. But if we judge a fish by his ability to climb a tree, he will always be thought of as stupid. So that's the reason I am arguing that we cannot include all children with special educational needs within the education system as it is presently structured. I want us all to think about this, and I will still argue that we cannot have inclusion as in the present system. And I want you all, as a society, to stand up and shout, the emperor has no clothes. That's from the story of the little girl. She was the only one that was willing to say the emperor had no clothes. And I, at the moment, seem like a lonely voice out there saying, inclusion does not work.